Welcome, everyone, to 24/7 Sports. I am Tom Loy alongside the 105 guys. We've got Director of Scouting Andrew Ivins and National Analyst Cooper Patagna. Signing day is right around the corner, so we're looking at 2025 recruiting classes all across the country and bringing fans a look at their soon-to-be signees. We are going to hit a few superlatives to clearly state our take on a lot of these guys. Today, we're looking at Clemson. The Tigers have the number 19 ranked recruiting class in 2025, and there are 13 commits set to play for head coach Dabo Swinney. Andrew, we will start with you. Obviously a small group, but let's look at the early draft pick potential. A guy with elite traits now, but somebody who might see himself drafted early down the road.
It's going to be the lone five-star in the class for Clemson, Amari Adams, number 23 overall for us, number 4 defensive lineman. He's a big dancing bear in the middle. Clemson has churned out plenty of these war daddies in recent years: Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, Miles Murphy, Brian Brzee. Adams has what it takes to be the next one up, a guy that can get it done on Saturdays and then eventually on Sundays. He's worked in a variety of different alignments up front, flushes out pockets, makes double teams works. What I like on his senior tape, like he gets his big paws up there, knocking down passes left and right, and he's really impressive in pursuit. I just think he's a guy that's going to come in. He's going to play right away. We know Clemson's not in the transfer portal. Got to use these young individuals, and he has what it takes, again, to emerge and be the next one up for Clemson at a position where they've had so much success in recent years.
I'm going to go with Braden Jacobs, another guy that I'm really, really high on, and a guy that's kind of shot into that top 50 range for us. And Matt Luke has done a tremendous job, and this kind of feels like a Georgia offensive lineman. And Braden Jacobs, the son of Brandon Jacobs, big boy, over 6'7", 310 pounds plus. And as Drew talked about Amari Adams, I love the reach and I love the power, and just in terms of the control that he plays with. More of a power scheme guy. I think he fits this to a T for Garrett Riley, what they want to do, north-south running game as well. He's one of these dudes that I think can play early. We know Dabo is not going to use the transfer portal. They might have to rely on some young guys. This is a physically imposing kid that has the genetics, has the traits, and quite honestly, I love him on tape as well. So I think he's going to be in a pretty good position to play early. And I think he's got elite traits where you could see this guy kind of getting talked into a day one conversation a couple years from now.
I was torn between both Tay Harris, Braden Jacobs, Amari Adams, but I went with offensive lineman Braden Jacobs as well. Big, strong, physical, nasty mauler, stock-up guy. Excited to see him at the 2025 Navy All-American Bowl. I think that's going to be a big week for him. Day one impact, a guy who will see the field early and often. Cooper, who do you got?
Yeah, this one just feels like a layup. Tay Harris, I think, is one of our favorite players in the class, safety out of Georgia. And this guy, just in terms of what he can offer, I love the football player, and the traits are kind of secondary, which is pretty crazy when you're talking about a guy that runs 4.38 and a 10.6 in the 100-meter, but a three-phase guy that can do a lot of different things. And he plays bigger than his size. Think a lot about Bob Sanders, the great that played with the Indianapolis Colts, the versatility of what this kid brings. I love it. He carries a big stick in the run game, also pretty natural, playing the deep part of the field as well. So Tay Harris, even if it's special teams, I don't think it's just going to be one phase of the game that he's going to contribute. I think Clemson's going to have a really, really hard time keeping him off the field.
Coop, man, he locked down South Florida-based wide receivers this spring down in Miami. He went down there for one of those Under Armour camps. He was awesome. Cleans 305 pounds, squats 480 pounds. He's also going to run track for Clemson, one of the first players to do that since C.J. Spiller and Jacoby Ford. Tay Harris, yes, that is a name to know right now. You will see him on PFF graphics this time next year, assuming there's no setbacks. Tay Harris is going to play for Clemson as a true freshman. I went with running back Gideon Davidson, the Max Preps Junior National Player of the Year, number 3 ranked ball carrier for us right now. Productive every down back. He bobs and weaves through traffic. The contact balance is there, high-end burst, shifty agility to kind of extend those runs, has the speed to get to the edge. And what I love about Gideon Davidson, he launches himself at tacklers. He'll try to hurdle them if he gets a chance as well. He's got a wrestling background. I think that's going to help him in pass protection. 2 kickoff return touchdowns through the first 6 games of his senior season. And you think about Clemson, Phil Maffa is going to be off to the NFL. There you have different running backs there, but I think Gideon Davidson's a guy that can be a part of the rotation. We always say it with running back, easy for them to play year one. He's a name to know as well.
I agree completely. I went with running back Gideon Davidson as well. He runs well. He's a playmaker. He's tough, physical, mentally ready. If you get to know him, you will know quickly he's mentally ready for the college game. He'll be counted on right away at Clemson. Boomer bust, Ivins, an intriguing talent who could potentially outperform or underperform the current ranking. Kind of a mystery. Who do you got, man?
Man, this category was made for Carlton Preston. I love what this kid put on tape as a junior. Over 1,000 yards, 24 touchdown catches. The issue is he hasn't really played as a senior, kind of doing some research there. It looks like he transferred schools, followed his head coach, was ruled ineligible. There are 2 games up on Huddle. I think he has finally been able to play. Look, he is rail thin, but he reminds me a little bit of Hollywood Brown, who was at Oklahoma, obviously now in the NFL. He can just fly into the deeper third, big play threat. Not ideal, kind of given how the senior season's gone. We're flying a bit blind with the information, but Clemson just has 1 wide receiver committed right now. That's after taking TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco the year before. Someone that I think is going to have a chance to play. And again, I think he can hit boom just because he is a field stretcher from the slot.
I couldn't find a great answer for this question. That's a good thing for Clemson. That's the way that they recruit. Ari Watford, I think, kind of fits it to a T, a guy that we had in the top 75, trend him all the way back. He almost falls out of the top 247. But maybe a guy that I'll throw a little bit of cold water on, and I hate that I'm doing this because I love the player. Grayson Littleton, a little bit slight, going to be a nickel. Can he live out on the perimeter? I think those are the questions. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we've seen guys like this that are really, really heady football players that can do a lot of different things. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Elijah Molden, but a little bit lengthier at that corner nickel spot. So I love the versatility there. I am a little worried about the size, but I ultimately, at the end of the day, that's a good guy to bet on as well.
I went with Grayson Littleton as well. I'm a little torn. Is he going to be a 1st or 2nd rounder? Could he be a 6th or 7th rounder? All I know is every time I've seen him in person, I know, Ivans, you can attest as well. I know you've seen him in Florida. He just makes plays, great cover skills. Obviously, he's a little slight, but he's got a knack for finding the football. I'm high on the kid. I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up being like a day 2 pick down the road. Diamond in the rough, a 3-star prospect who could surprise a lot of people, emerge as a high-level college player, and potentially see himself drafted. Cooper, who do you got, man?
I'm going to go with the guy out of my area. That's Logan Anderson. And the more that we've studied this guy, the more that we like. You know, plays small ball there in the state of Alabama, but another guy that just does so many things, plays quarterback, plays running back, plays linebacker. And if you study Clemson linebackers, they have a way of getting the most out of these kind of like blue-collar, hard-nosed type of second-level defenders. And I think that's exactly what Logan Anderson is. It's easy to put him in that category as kind of a guy that's going to play with a chip on his shoulder. He also ran 4.51, explosive leap in the vertical as well. He's a better athlete than people give credit for. Would not be shocked at all if this is one of those guys. All of a sudden, you're kind of reading articles. All right, who are some guys making some noise throughout spring, throughout fall practice? I think Logan Anderson kind of fits in that category perfectly.
It is the day of the Logans. I'm going with the other Logan in Clemson's class, Logan Brooking, number 34 ranked tight end. Father is Keith Brooking, 5-time NFL Pro Bowl selection. Everything, Cooper, you just said about Logan Anderson, I think you can apply it to Logan Brooking. Hard-nosed football player, shows up with that lunch pail, gets it done on both sides of the ball, and has for a few years. We always talk about with tight ends, it's a huge developmental position. A lot of those guys aren't attached and early on in the high school stage, and they have multi-sport backgrounds. Logan Brooking, lacrosse player, really good spatial awareness. I just like the future of Clemson's tight end room post Jake Brenningstool, who's going to be off to the NFL. They got Olsen, Pat Henry, former 4-star for 24/7 Sports. He's coming on. They got Christian Bentancur, an All-American from the last recruiting cycle. He's redshirting. And then you're going to have this kid, Logan Brooking, who I think can get it done on special teams as well. It's tucked there in Savannah. Nice get for Clemson.
Christian Bentancur, he had such a good week in San Antonio at the All-American Bowl. I went with linebacker Logan Anderson, joining you, Coop. He punishes ball carriers, this violent streak about him, kind of linebacker, safety, can kind of drop and cover. Just a lot to like there. There's really not much he can't do. So that wraps it up. As I said before, we're going to hit a bunch of schools leading up to the early signing period in December. But for Andrew Ivans and Cooper Patagna, I'm Tom Loy. As always, stay locked to 247sports.com.